Maritime, simply put, relates to navigation or commerce on the high seas.
Some say money makes the world go round. I say ships move the money that make the world move.
Who navigates those large international ships?
How often are international ships required to be surveyed and inspected?
Maritime also protects our seas and borders by way of our local Bahamas Defense
Force. It
is
very sad to say that out of 1,500 plus ships that are registered under the Bahamian flag, only a very small amount of Bahamians are employed.
Maritime Matters.
Good evening to you, our valued listening audience. Welcome one, welcome all. Welcome to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. Our sponsors for tonight's show are One-on-One Pharmacy and also Island Care Pharmacy. For all your medication needs, check out my little cousin Shantytowns McBride and a lovely team at One-on-One Pharmacy in Nassau and of course Island Care Pharmacy in Freeport. Fill your prescription at the store or send your refills via the online site oneononepharmacy.com. That's One-on-One Pharmacy, all lowercase, all one word, .com. The three locations are East Street South, Charles Sanders Highway, and of course Explorers Way in downtown Freeport. We are secondly sponsored by Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited. At BMC, we provide a full slate of ISPS maritime security services. And we are proud to announce the joint sponsorship, our third, of GBI pilots and Bimini pilots. That's Grand Bahama International, I assume, pilots and Bimini pilots. These are a contingent of independent pilots, marine pilots that is, that are making themselves available to provide marine pilotage to any and all ships outside of the Freeport and Nassau Port area. That means any family island and or private island in the Bahamas. So please feel free to call on GBI pilots or Bimini pilots for all your marine pilot needs. Tonight, we shall engage discussions on COP28 in Dubai. And of course, we will delve into activities surrounding carbon credit implementation in the Bahamas. And, of course, in the entire world. Topics should include, therefore, well, we start off with our Shantytown follow-up, The latest on the Shantytown demolitions. We saw Cool Acres come tumbling down. We saw All Saints come tumbling down. What is the next one on the schedule, Minister Clay Sweeting? We got all confidence in you, because boy, you got us going. We want to know who is next up. Is there a devised schedule of the others that we, the people, can follow? You know, they got a lot more of those shanties, and we know you guys know where they all are. It ain't no secret. The government of the Bahamas is quite aware of every single shanty town. So we want a schedule. We want to know which one next, which one 2 months from now. It shouldn't last 6 months to get rid of all them. I know we got about 20-something, 30-something, I don't know. But I know we got a lot. And we need a schedule, Minister Clay Sweeting. We want to see a schedule. You should have one already. Just make it public to us so we can follow it. But we want to run them down. Because if there is no schedule, then how can we be convinced that the demolitions will go on? Please, Mr. Minister, please, kindly share that schedule with us. We want to follow that schedule. What about the enforcement of our Immigration Act, Minister says? Will we carry out the law and cease the employment of those not possessing the relevant work permit? And will we proceed in implementing law that will provide penalties for those who employ persons without the requisite work permit or the appropriate work permit? Same difference. Right, Misty? I know she ain't listening to me tonight, because if she listens to me, she ready to call. We will talk a lot tonight, ladies and gentlemen, about COP28. What is COP28? the conference of the parties. This is about global warming. This is about the reduction and eventual cease of carbon being emitted into the environment. Because when carbon is emitted or continues to be emitted into the environment, it clogs up the air with those carbon. They take in heat. When the sun heat up the earth, they can't escape from the earth's surface area because the carbon in there is trapping them around, and they spread around to the poles, and we know what happens. Come on, man. Ice melts, the glaciers, you can hardly see them nowadays. They go in the pile up in the Himalayan mountains. They say the glaciers even ain't there no more. So we need to stop this. We need to make sure, protect the earth from what we, human beings, have been doing. Pertaining to what? Pertaining to putting all that heat in there, all that carbon in there, that sucks up heat, that creates blockage, and that is causing these large disturbances. We'll have more hurricanes like Hurricane Dorian, and even more powerful, eh? We will have more big earthquakes. The heat is not balanced. The air is not balanced. It's too hot. And we've seen over the past couple years, 13 years or so, they've been recording that they were the hottest 13 years for over 100 years. So we know something is wrong. They ain't got to guess on this no more, eh? And there's a lot going on, ladies and gentlemen. So as we speak, we got rhetoric going on at COP28, but do we have action with all that rhetoric? I dare say no. Action meaning levels of investment. Show us the money. Where the money to do these things. As we speak, over 200 countries congregate in Dubai in view of stamping out carbon emissions by 2050. Is this just rhetoric? Or is it a level of investments pledged being panned out as promised? Our Prime Minister stated at the conference that time has run out. He talked about using the next 6 months to strengthen our National Youth Guard. Strengthen them as far as becoming more aware of climate, what it's doing, what carbon is doing, and all the rest of it. We need to pass this on to the youth because it's them who are going to have this fight to take. But we need to start. He talked about building more carbon negative homes as pioneered by our great basketball superstar in the past, Rick Fox. He talked about raising finance using blue carbon credit. What is blue carbon credits? Blue carbon credits mean you are going to get carbon credits from the sea, from the water, from our seagrasses, and from our mangrove. We should be able to get some compensation because they are sequestering at a very fast pace carbon out of the atmosphere and storing them in the seabed. The most noteworthy achievement at the conference is that a loss and damage fund has been agreed for small island developing states. They call it SIDS, S-I-D-S, small island developing states, and other territories affected by storms, with Mr. Davis, our Prime Minister, highlighted in his speech that this means that the principle has now been settled. The polluter pays. So you see, dear listener, this anchors the fact that entities producing the greenhouse gases, like carbon, should be the ones to pay for the heat that the earth is now suffering. So the money is there because if the polluters are making money by polluting, then they should pay for the pollution they make. And we've been saying this now for weeks, months. And we will be saying it on until these polluters, well, it has been established since they made that contribution or that commitment to pay the SIDS when they experience damage from storms and whatnot, yeah? The small island developing nations. So we now know that they are aware that they gotta pay. So we gotta make them pay round and round. So I with you, Mr. Prime Minister, I with you, Mr. Philip Davis, because You know how we go. You and me from Roll Avenue. We might not be blood, but we corner boys. Well, you a little older than me, but I don't remember all of that. All us come up through the same neck of the woods. An initial goal of $400 million has been pledged to set up this fund. We say $400 million. What is $400 million in the grand scale of things when a hurricane runs through your country? Should we contrast that with the billions in damages that the Bahamas alone suffered from Hurricane Dorian? That is one storm in one nation in one hurricane season. So that $400 million that is pledged does not look like it is going too far, eh? Not to me anyway. But it's a start. We got the pledge and we got the people who are responsible paying, and that's where we want to get started. And that's where we've been hindered all this time. These people, they don't want to pay, especially these countries that know that they're going to be making money from fossil fuel. They don't want fossil fuel to stop to begin with because they're making a lot of money off it. So why would they pay if they're the ones making the money off this fossil fuel and don't want fossil fuel to stop? They could be forced to stop. We know that. Why? Because the earth is heating up so fast and so rapidly that if we don't do something now, the earth will be in problems. They will also be in problems. So the fossil fuel have to stop. And tonight we can express many ways, particularly in shipping, where the fossil fuel is actually stopping. Ships are taking grave measures to no longer pollute the air with carbon. So, at COP28, our Prime Minister made an urgent plea to the world leaders. Mr. Davis asserted that surely this puts beyond doubt and debate that the principle has now been settled. The polluter pays. How serious is that, eh? He that pollutes must pay, eh? That's where we want to go and that's where we are. It is established as final. And in 13 years, we have not yet hit the original pledge goal of $100 billion per year. You know, from 13 years ago, they pledged that we'll do $100 billion every year into this fund so that we could pay off carbon credits to countries like Dubai. They ain't do it yet. Hey, we want our 156 billion, but we can't get it unless they put it in the pot. So, dear listener, the money ain't come out of thin air. The United Nations don't have this money sitting in the pot waiting for us to claim it. This money have to go there by countries that depend on fossil fuel to make money in their country. So if they stop fossil fuel, many of them can lose out on plenty money they make. So you think they can just sit there and put the money in there for countries like the Bahamas, although we are sequestering at all times. We own the land. Now, you remember now, the land is ours and any seabed connected to the land is ours. So all the banks is ours. That's where the world's largest banks of seagrass are held. We the owners, the seagrass don't all the work, so we should be reaping. And Mr. Davis questioned us, how long must we now wait to have this new fund capitalized? And how long must we wait before we can access this fund? Time is a luxury we do not have. And so we are left wondering how we should interpret the pledges of this COP or this COP28 or this Conference of the Parties seminar. We are talking. How long we going to wait after we done talk? Let's put some money down and get this thing rolling. That's what our Prime Minister telling the world. He said, so little pledged, given what is needed. In other words, we need so much money, but only a little bit has been pledged. I mean, even the ones that are pledged, they ain't put down yet. So we still need that pledge to come to fruition so that we can move along. So late in the day, says Prime Minister Brave Davis, given what is forecasted. So you forecasted over a certain time, we could do certain things, and we late in the day, we ain't get the first dime yet, put as pledged in the fund to pay off entities that are sequestering and taking some of this carbon out of there. A recent study by the University of Delaware, Mr. Davis said, estimated that the loss and damage from climate change globally cost about 1.5 trillion with a T in 2022 alone. You know, this $1.5 trillion. What is $1 trillion, people? $1 trillion is 1,000 billion with a B. So that trillion with a T is 1,000 billion. You know how much money that is? And he said $1.5 trillion. That means $1,500 billion in 2022 alone was paid for loss and damage due to hurricanes and other natural disasters. Based, as you would know, on this climate change, this global warming, this bunch of carbon in there would need to be stopped emitting so that the world could breathe again and our storms wouldn't be as violent. That's what this is all about. Our Prime Minister said he does not understand why others do not share our sense of urgency. It looks like only a couple countries want this to happen urgently. Well, we know. Those who are benefiting, why should they? Why should they? Because they don't want to lose out on what they're getting. We know how it works. But pressure will come to bear so that they will not have a choice. You cut it out or you pay for it. We still live in a world where financing always seems immediately available for bullets and for bombs. In other words, war. Amidst all this global warming and heating up of the earth, according to our Prime Minister, we find all kind of money to give or support some countries who are in war with other countries. We're seeing it in Ukraine. We're seeing it in Gaza. And who says stopping there? But all this stuff, they find all this money that they say they don't have to put in the pot for us to get paid for our carbon credits. But yet, boom, one more breakout, money pile up going to this country, money pile up going to that country, and it's a game. But that's their money. What could we do? So I support our Prime Minister in saying we need to look at this from a holistic approach and make sure what we pledge we do. And we need to make some bigger pledges. Because that 400 million is a drop in the bucket when you're talking about 1.5 trillion in 2022 alone. Come on, man. Let's talk money. We also want to talk about the world's largest cruise ship. That's the icon of the seas, eh? The world's largest cruise ship delivered to Royal Caribbean. Anything of the seas belong to Royal Caribbean. Royal Caribbean has the largest cruise ships in the world. I mean, they have like anything over 200,000 gross tons belong to Royal Caribbean. And of course, they started out with the Oasis of the Seas being about 220,000 gross tons. So we got some other companies now coming up and making, I know we talked about one last week that's going to be 215,000 gross. So that's going to be the next one outside of the Royal Caribbean fleet of super-sized ships. That's going to be over 200,000 metric tons, eh? The cruise line highlights that the massive ship, the world's largest cruise ship, the Icon of the Seas, was handed over to our owners, Royal Caribbean Group, during a ceremony last week at Mayor Turku shipyard in Finland. Now, Finland, Finland is they make some nice ships. They make strong ships, good ships. But Finland make like one ship every now and then. They're not big like Italy with turning out cruise ships, but they're good. The cruise line highlights that the massive ship, the first of 3 on order, is the product of 7 years of design and nearly 2.5 years of work to become a reality. So they designed the ship over 7 years ago. And in the last 2.5 years, they start putting the puzzle together. Now the puzzle is basically together. Ship getting ready to launch. Ship has been handed over to our CCL. She now begins the final 2 months of fitting out and previews before her first commercial trip in late January 2024 from Miami to the Caribbean. And what does that mean? We say from Miami to the Caribbean. Are you aware, dear listener, that this, the largest cruise ship in the world, will be doing cruises exclusively in our country, the Bahamas? She wouldn't be going nowhere else. Well, of course, she would be home porting in Florida, in Miami. But once she leave Miami, she come to the Bahamas and she go right back to Miami. That's right. She should be doing 3- and 4-day cruises from Miami to its private island, Coco Key. They say a perfect day at Coco Key. Then on to Nassau, where we got our spanking new harbor, so the people will be tempted to come off and see some new stuff before returning to Miami, where she will then chunk those 6,000 people off and take in a new 6,000 and come all the way back here all over again to Coco Key and Nassau. She'll be doing that straight through 3- and 4-day cruises out of Miami. So after the delivery ceremony, anyway, we'll come back to the world's largest ship, the Icon of the Seas, and talk about some details on that after we get through with our first break. The first methanol-ready large cruise ship floated in Finland for TUI. So TUI, or TUI, is a German company. They have this large cruise ship that is being prepared to be operated or propelled or powered using methanol. I told you earlier, these ships ain't playing. This ship is going to be ready to use methanol. So she even ain't going to be emitting no carbon, because methanol doesn't have a carbon burn off. Right? So this cruise ship, which is very large, is setting out to be, if not the first, one of the first cruise ships. And actually it's the first large cruise ship to have 0 emission. And they can do this by 2030. The rest got to do it by 2050. They said coming out the bag with methanol. The first large cruise ship designed to operate in the future on methanol or e-methanol was floated from the construction dry dock to begin the final phase of outfitting before her introduction in the summer of 2024. So she got 6 months away. This December, 6 months away. Or 5 months, summer come in May. That's it. And then she could be rolling out. She's the third of 3 sister ships built at Maritime shipyard in Finland. Again, this is Finland, people. Finland is getting all the new stuff, eh? They're breaking these barriers. So the ship name is Mein Schiff 7. Mein Schiff. If I try to say it any other way, I might cuss, right? And you know I don't cuss, especially on air. So Mein Schiff 7, built for Germany's TUI cruises, was adapted that is, to the future use of alternative fuel as the cruise line pursues its net zero ambitions. In addition to the new methanol-ready capabilities, the Mein Schiff 7 is being outfitted with catalytic converters that reduce NOx emissions. noxious liquid, whatever that is, emissions by around 75%. And she will have shore power capabilities. Why is shore power so important? Shore power is important because that means when the ship is in port, she could plug in to the city power to feed her electricity. So at that time, she wouldn't be emitting zero carbon again. So if she's running off methanol, which means she's not producing any carbon, and then when she gets in port, she's going to be linked up to shore supply power, and she done went, she ain't OIM on nothing, she ain't got to pay nothing, she ain't own nothing, because she ain't putting no carbon in there, and this is where these ships are going. So when I say to you, dear listener, that the world is moving forward to net zero by 2050, that ain't no fluke. Why do you think these people spending all of this money to do this? With all of these cruise ships ain't cheap, and these cruise ships have like $2 billion each when they come that size. And they are actually converting and changing and making them ready for propulsion that emits net zero carbon. Boy, I tell you, we're moving along in this world. So, in addition to the new methanol-ready capabilities, the main ship 7 is being outfitted with catalytic converters and reduce emissions by around 75%. And she will have shore power capability. The ship will also have new advancements in waste and wastewater treatment capabilities. So she ain't polluting the waters either. Well, very minimal pollution from wastewater treatment. We have a wastewater treatment plant, and they got a waste plant, and they can make sure capitalize so that they will be the cleanest ship around, eh? The shipyard and cruise line have not committed on the specific design changes, but noted that the ship has what you call built-in methanol capability for when the fuel is readily available. So you know what they're saying? Methanol ain't ready yet. The ship will be ready, but they can't go to ports where they can take on methanol yet. They're working on that. It will start operations using lower emission marine diesel fuel. So when they say low emission, they're talking about what? Like natural gas. Okay? That's really the lowest one right now. They emit like 40% what the regular fossil fuel ships emit. So we see methanol capability is not up and ready as yet, but it is surely well on the way, my dear listener. And these are the basic topics that we will seek to engage tonight. Be advised that we are again locked and loaded plenty more information on these topics. So please stay tuned as we unload this litany of details surrounding these timely topics. We're talking maritime, people. You are listening to Maritime Matters. At this point, we move to our first break, and when we return, we will engage tonight's maritime discussions. Listen, people, don't touch that dial because you don't want to miss this one. Thank you very much.
At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling Building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection. At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, then I'll watch them roll away again. Yeah. I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Just sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Maritime Matters. Again, I am your host, Captain Glenn Payne. I take this opportunity to say good night to my good old Auntie May up there in Freeport, the second city, my number one fan from day one. She is north of 90 years old and still counting strong people. Continue to roll on, Auntie May. Tell my good cousins Lauren and Margot and Venice and Yvonne to, keep things ticking as you roll on to 91. Hey, they're going to continue to take good care of you because I know they got you covered. To our listening audience out there, take pleasure in introducing you to the man behind the controls, our wonderful producer. Ladies and gentlemen, I reserve no hesitation in presenting to you tonight the insatiable, the man of the hour, one with all the power. He is fully able. He is quite capable. The one and only, Mr. Craig Gibson. Yeah, that's the man. Oh, he got that down. Salute down back again. You're listening to Maritime Matters, people. On this show, we talk maritime. Maritime Matters airs weekly at 19:30 every Tuesday here on Love 97 FM. The purpose of our show is to highlight persons that made significant contributions to the maritime in the Bahamas and to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities in the maritime sector. We also cover current maritime issues from the domestic and international maritime feeds. Halfway through the show, we will open the phone line. As a matter of fact, we're ready to open it now. So you can call in when you're ready, 326-8255. That's 326-8255. You want in on this discussion, feel free to call in. The show is rather technical tonight, but so what? We could talk technical, we could talk non-technical. Just call in. Let me say good night to my good cousin Jacqueline Cooper Hill. Girl, Jackie, you're getting up there, girl. You won't catch me up, but boy, you're close. Continue to do well, my friend. Continue to enjoy this birthday of yours. And you know how we roll. We go back from Royal Avenue days. All us. Royal Avenue this. That's where the good Prime Minister from, eh? That's right. Okay, I think we got a call on the line. Let's check and see what's happening. Call you on Maritime Matters. Thank you very much for calling.
Good evening, Captain Bain. This is Captain Bain.
Captain Brain, what's happening, my brother?
Man, look at how everything is poker. I like the topic that you were discussing tonight, particularly as it relates to not carbon credits, the whole advancement of technology that will hopefully reduce the amount of pollution that we put into the environment.
Yeah, well, it definitely will. I'm Brother Herb, and let me tell you, man, these ships aren't playing. They are investing huge amounts. This methanol engine, then they got some with starting to use alcohol and what the other thing name?
Well, they are hydrogen. They are some.
Hydrogen.
They even have some container vessels that have experimented with actually sail. Methanol is a type of alcohol. And it's supposed to be, and it will definitely
carbon free, carbon zero.
Yeah, but Cap, when you think about it, the biggest polluter really and truly is the aviation industry. I'm not sure how far we are with that. But the aviation community is growing every day, and they can't do without fossil fuels.
Well, I know that the ICAO is looking into that because you can imagine to replace one of those compact jet engines with something like hydrogen, like you said. That's not going to be an easy feat because they got to carry like twice the amount of hydrogen. Actually, hydrogen only give them 50% of what power they get from fossil fuels.
Yeah.
So it's going to take some more time, I'm sure, but trust me when I tell you, they are working toward it.
Well, you know, and I agree with you 100%, but you know what, for me, as a Bahamian, I would like to see, you know, all these advancements are great for the industry, for the world, and, you know, from a macro perspective, right? But for me as a Bahamian, as a person who utilizes all these facilities and who live here, I would like to see us as Bahamians do a little bit more to protect our environment. We still have people on, say, putters keep pouring oil into the sea. We still have all these restaurants and the proliferation of restaurants at the fish fry, and they don't have grease traps and the like. You know, I just believe that, you know, for us to be able, we still don't have legislation, really and truly meaningful legislation to address pollution when we have dumping in say, Nassau Harbor. It happens every day. And so I believe my mom used to always say, charity begins at home. I'm not 100% sure what that really means per se, but we always liken that to whatever good you want to do, you got to start with yourself and start at the home. And in the Bahamas in particular, when I use that particular phrase, I'm saying, hey, well, it's great for us to be able to look at the global perspective and how these things will impact us as a global community. We still have a lot of work to do locally on the local scene to make sure that we adequately addressing this thing from every facet of where the pollution actually lies, from the garbage, the amount of garbage. We talk about the big cruise ships, yeah. Big cruise ships coming, and they're also bringing huge amounts of garbage. And I'm not hearing any spare how we gonna address all the amount of garbage that emanate from these ships, which is millions of tons every year. And the Caribbean community is running out of space in terms of landfill and the like to be able to manage the amount of waste that these ships generate. You know, yes, they're going to be doing a lot better in terms of the technology that the ship could do a little bit more. But I would love to see us talk a little bit more about what we're doing on the local scene, how we're going to take care of our little country that's becoming more and more prevalent on the world stage. Here it is, you talk about the Royal Caribbean ships coming here, and this is going to be their destination. Well, you know something? This is going to be their destination. We need to make sure that we're ready for that amount of visitor arrival, for that amount of garbage, and for that amount of additional pollution that will invariably end up in the marine environment.
You are absolutely on nail, my brother. The thing is, I don't know if you're aware, but you know it was mentioned in our last show. Our Prime Minister had pledged to the world that by 2030, which is only another 6 years almost, because we're almost in 2024. By 2030, all government buildings will be fitted with solar, and they will be running on solar, maybe not full power, but as much as possible to provide power for those buildings. He also said all government vehicles will be battery operated. They'll be electrical vehicles, right? He also said there was a third thing. He said they're going to do within government. But what he's not saying, and what I haven't heard, is that they're putting legislation in place that mandate a phase reduction countrywide. In other words, how about saying to us, by 2030, you will not be allowed to import fossil fuel vehicles.
Right.
By 2040, or even by 2030, let's look at BPL. BPL will transition from fossil fuel to methanol or hydro. We're not hearing that.
But that is exactly right.
And that's what we need to hear. And we need to start putting pressure on our government to tell us what is the mandate for BPL. And we know why.
Yeah,
but we got to go beyond that, and BPL got to get with the program.
For sure. But more importantly, Cap, is we have a system, we have historically we do things in season. If it's the PLC or the F&M or whatever the case may be, while they may have a vision for this, while it's their season, as soon as their season is past, that vision goes in abeyance or shelf or whatever the case may be. So we have a lot to do via legislation to ensure that there is continuity when it comes to some of the things that you have just alluded to, like BPL and phase reduction and the like. Right, because realistically speaking, I don't know if we're mature enough at this particular juncture to say, something, that's not my idea, but it's a good one, and we're gonna roll with that.
Yeah, but we can't expect the world to be cooperating with us as far as paying us for what we're sequestering out of the environment, and we doing a whole heap of foolishness. Now we gotta set the example before we can even apply pressure to the rest of the world.
Exactly.
So we saying the same thing, and this is what our Prime Minister is saying, and I think that's why he made those pledges. And government in our country is not necessarily continuous, as all of us know. But we, the people, have to press on the government to make it continuous, eh?
Indeed.
We got to make it happen. The government will do whatever we as much as we afford them and allow them to do, but we got to get serious as a people.
Yeah, and hey, what better issue for us to come together on than this one here? I think this one is something that we all can agree that something is going on in the world that's eventually going to affect our children, affecting us.
Us, our children, our grandchildren.
And our grandchildren and everybody else. And we need to do something about it as a matter of urgency because of the fact that we can see the evidence is everywhere with the increased amount of storms, the intensity of the storm. We can look at the
call I see on the line. I'll be with you in a minute. My goodness, that was a while.
The melting, how our sea levels are higher, how temperatures are warmer, and so it's not no rocket science. Everybody can see it, but it's just a matter of creating that continuous awareness. That awareness got to start. Probably it's got to start at the primary school levels and get people understanding if the consequences of inaction and the like. So yeah, we have a lot of work to do, and I would love to see. While I applaud my and your Prime Minister for the bold initiatives that we as a country taken, I think that we definitely need to get our act together on the ground here. In preparation for what may come.
Absolutely, my friend, absolutely. But thank you so much for that good call. I got another call on the line. Feel free to call back later on because we go deep into some of these topics, especially with these ships. And let's see what you have to say about that.
Thank you very much for accommodating me.
Always, my brother. Take care of yourself. Calling on Maritime Matters is low. I think that call is gone. Good night to you, Corley. On Maritime Matters. Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Ben, I appreciate your show very much. Do you know, we have people making coal in the neighborhood, and sometimes your house is filled with so much smoke. You call the police. you could see all the fire, and they'll tell you that you got to call the fire engine. Then you call the fire engine, they say you got to call the neighborhood police. Why would people be making call in a neighborhood?
My dear, thank you very much for your call. I mean, things like coal, coal is only the trunk of a tree. They cut the tree down, dig up the trunk, and they make coal just to sell. These people are not making coal to utilize. Most of them, when you see making coal, they're making that to sell.
And then the house full of smoke, and the yard full of smoke. You could barely catch your breath. You screw around the window of the house full, and you call the police. When they pop, you call them back. They say, well, we don't see no one there, but then you can see the big fire, and this is an ongoing thing. You could barely breathe.
That's right. I don't know. All I can suggest to you that, you take some video footage of it and put them on blast. That's really, our authorities are not too responsive, and I don't even know if this is illegal for people to actually utilize their own property to derive coal. I don't know if it's illegal, but I know one thing: the country needs to make a mandate very soon to say it's illegal, because again, that's fossil fuel.
But it's so much smoke. The house full of smoke.
Yeah, that's very dangerous. That's I don't know if the police is not coming to the assistance. We can call the fire branch. They could come around, and I really don't know what to say to you as far as legal avenues you can take, my dear, except perhaps if you take footage of it and the authorities take note of it, they will realize that it is more dangerous than just hearing a call. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I thank you so much for your call, and please, like I say, if you can take some footage, get it out there. I'll be more than happy to assist once I see the footage of it, to bring it on the show, and let's keep pressure on them to make sure that they address these things. Thank you for your wonderful call. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Maritime Matters. Captain Glenn Bain, bringing to you matters of maritime when it comes to carbon reductions from the maritime fleet. We were talking initially about the Shantytown demolitions that we had in this country. Last week we came down with the All Saints Shantytown. About a month and a half, 2 months ago, we came down with the Cool Acres Shantytown, and we had a pledge from our Minister of Works, Minister Clay Sweeting, that we are going to bring down all the shantytowns in this country. But what we didn't have is a schedule. Yes, it sounds good. Yes, we believe you could do it, because you do too. Now, Mr. Minister, let's see the schedule for the rest. Even if you show me schedule for another 5 or even another 2, I need to know. Let's see the schedule, and let me know when you can get to Abaco, boy, because Kai Cares up there, those Kai Cares videos, they ain't playing with us. We got a big coverage to do up there in Abaco. Do you know, dear listener, that when you hire an unregulated Haitian national to landscape your yard, it is an illegal activity? Yeah. Because under the Bahamas government policy, one of the areas reserved for Bahamians is landscaping. This suggests that it is not possible for a non-Bahamian citizen to obtain a work permit for the purpose of landscaping. So if you can obtain a permit for landscaping, how could you be, as a non-Bahamian, engaging services in landscaping? I see you on the line call. I'll beat you in a minute. And the same applies for security services, eh? Security officers are reserved for Bahamian citizens. Calling on Maritime Matters. Thank you for calling. Hello.
You're live, Mr. Bain.
You are live, my brother. I need to borrow Marlon voice, man. We say, King Arthur, what do you say?
Subject tonight, you bring some good information to Bahamian people because we need this kind of thing that is going on right here now.
All the time, my brother, all the time. I would go up in your town.
Let's talk about them carbon grids. I heard the Prime Minister say it's time to stop the talking and start to bring it forward, because all the big countries that have been polluting our area, been polluting the air, and our grass is, growing old from absorbing all of that stuff inside the atmosphere.
That's right. So it appears that we have a little problem whereby a lot of these countries that produces all this or placing all this carbon in the air from their trains and their airplanes and all the cars they have and the power plants and a lot of them are not living up to that pledge.
Yes, sometimes anytime you look inside the sky and you see something that looks like a cloud, it's nothing but poison when these jet airliners chemicals and they make these things looking like clouds, like pure evaporation.
That is correct.
You understand?
That is correct.
What I'm saying is that a lot of people saying that because the ice caps are melting and this global warming thing is going on. You know what is one of the things I'd really like to look at? I would like to look at the fact that the sun that is in the sky evaporates so much and so much water makes it into clouds and condensation. What percentage of the effect that this chemically natural process takes place, what is it going to do for climate change? Is it that we're going to have global warming because of that? Because if the sun is hot, then it's sucking up the water too. And the water's going to come down in the form of rain and water our plants and the trees and everything else. So what effect does this global warming effect have on the rising sea levels? Is the sun going to evaporate so much of the water from here when the ice caps melt that it wouldn't affect us? What do you think? Do you think the sun going to be playing with us or what?
The sun is not necessarily evaporating water. The sun does that no matter what. Yeah, the sun is going to evaporate water no matter what. But what the sun is doing what the sun does and was always doing is heating up the earth every day. And after the earth heats up in the daytime, that heat leaves the earth during the nighttime when the sun is gone away, and that heat works its way up into the atmosphere and out of the ozone layer and all the rest of those layers and into space. But right now, that heat cannot leave the Earth's environment because it's being blocked by a layer of carbon. What happens is because we have been releasing so much carbon, see the carbon goes up so far and then it takes in heat. The carbon absorbs heat and get heavy. So the carbon is not leaving the environment and they form a blockage. So when the heat is leaving the earth to go out of the atmosphere, it's trapped by that carbon and it stays in, and that is what is helping to warm up the oceans. And you know what happens with a hurricane when it meets warm water? Because the oceans are getting warmer, the hurricanes are getting more violent. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse unless we allow this heat to pass those carbon, which means we got to stop polluting the carbon, and we got to allow countries like the Bahamas to sequester a lot of that carbon out of the environment so that the earth could breathe freely again.
So the most important thing for us right now, how can we go about getting what we're supposed to get to start protecting ourselves, to make preparations to start protecting ourselves from the go up on the higher grounds, or do you think there will be a time when we have to move down to places that have mountains, mountainous areas, put ourselves in a position we can have a place like in Cuba or in Haiti or in Jamaica where mountains are, because these are our neighbors, and if we are part of CARICOM and we're supposed to be a part of this Caribbean initiative, we need to start looking at these things right now. Don't you think so?
No, but the thing is, you never know what can happen in the future. We may have to run, all of us may have to go to countries like Cuba and Haiti for refuge, because if the ocean level continues to rise because of climate change or the heat in the environment, then we can start getting sunken. Because they're talking about.
What do you think? Do you think our leaders are looking that far on the line? Because hey, let me tell you something, man. You got some guys right here now who are thinking about these things.
Yeah, but for that to happen, we're talking hundreds of years from now. It's not going to happen in me in your lifetime, right? But our offsprings will have to be faced with it. The reality is we got to save the earth, and the only way to save the earth is the way that the United Nations is going now by saying zero carbon emissions by 2050. We have to do that. And ships are now doing it. Planes are starting to do it. Cars, they already have most of the cars. You almost get 20 or so % of cars all electric. So by a certain time, 2030, most of the cars in the world will be electric. By 2050, all cars will be electric. All ships will be electric or using fuel that do not pollute carbon. So
let me ask you.
This is happening.
Okay, between you and me, let's look at it from this point of view. So you mean that the water is going to rise like 20 and 30,000 feet because we got mountains in the world, you say saving the earth. Do you think it will be a time when certain amount of people will have to go to these mountains and stuff like that is that high in order for you to live on this earth? Or by then, do you think that we're going to be
No.
Be like on spacecrafts and spaceships out Mars or different planets and things like that because, it's all of that along with the earth that's making what it is, the universe.
No, King Arthur, if we follow the plan, right, and I think the world will, right, achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050. That's only 25 years, right? What's going to happen is once there's no more carbon being emitted into the environment, the what you call carbon sinks will continue to take carbon out of the environment, right? And eventually the carbon will free up the heat, and the heat will be able to escape as normal, and the balance of the earth will return to where it should be, and the heating around the poles, all that will be a thing of the past.
Okay, good. Now check this out. All the stuff that is like causing a damage for the environment right now, is there a way that we could recycle that and use that again into making food, making water, making food, making this, making that? Use it again so that we can take it from out of the atmosphere. What do you think?
Well, they got a lot of use right now. They got companies that are using machines to abstract carbon out of the air by extraction fans and whatnot, and they're converting that carbon into solid, and they're making things out of it. So that's already happening. That's only going to improve as we go along. But again, when 2050 comes,
listen at me. Okay. Why don't you take $1 or $2 billion that you got stopped away and let's start to make a factory that can do this kind of thing. Maybe in the Bahamas, use some scientists and maybe people in the lab and stuff like that. And what you think?
Well, we got the natural seagrass and seagrass meadows and mushroom what you call it, the mangrove forests that are. They're doing that for us already as far as taking out of the air. But now when you're talking about manufacturing, the Bahamas, it's very difficult for the Bahamas to be a manufacturing nation simply because the cost of living is so high. The cost you have to pay somebody to work in your factory compared to the person in Cuba or Mexico or India to be in a factory doing the same work, making the same product, and in China, we can't compete with that.
Okay, well, what I'm actually talking about, I'm talking about the bad things in the environment, you know what I mean?
What bad things?
Make a factory that we can harness them and then send them off to other places and sell them to other places.
Yeah, but I'm saying to you, the bad carbon, the carbon in the environment. I'm saying to you, we could do that. But
yeah, man, listen up, man. Let's stay strong, though, man. Keep making the message, man. You know what I mean? I'm out of here.
King Ara, I thank you so much for your call, my brother, and let's keep in touch. You take care of yourself. That's King Arthur up there in Freeport. Well, 8 Mile Rock. That's 8 Mile Rock, man, eh? as a carbon man. He's looking forward to getting his hundreds of thousands or his millions over a period of time from the carbon credits that our Bahamas will benefit and will be able to sell. And are we looking at selling carbon credits to the private sector like Amazon, Walmart, Apple? These entities produce a lot of carbon just through their operations, and they're going to need offsets because they're not going to immediately be able to encounter net zero carbon. No, it's going to take them a while to do that transition. So while they're doing that transition, they're going to have to buy carbon offsets for that operation to continue. But is the Bahamas approaching them and telling them, we'll give you a discount because we got plenty. We have plenty carbon credits. We don't have to wait for the United Nations fund to pay us for our carbon credits because that may be waiting for somebody to put money in the fund, eh? But we could approach some of these large entities, since we are the largest seagrass carbon credit entity in the world. We have carbon credits piled up like that. These are the people we can approach, and they even in a voluntary situation. They don't have to wait till it's mandated, They can do it in a voluntary situation, and it will be credited toward when it becomes mandatory. But we can approach them. In Mexico, got some of them. They're now doing some stuff where they pay in Mexico for the carbon credits that they produce in. So we got to get our carbon credits on the market. And I know that we've done the mapping. I know that we passed WACs. I know that we have companies earmarked to assist. So we need to now get our verification done, yeah? And they got verification companies that do this worldwide. One right in America. Let them come in and verify how much carbon credits we have so that we can make it available to these companies. Who knows? One of them alone may buy out all our carbon credits and our country will be getting the 156 billion a year or somewhere near that. It could be more, it could be less. But we already know we got 90-something thousand acres of seagrass meadows. We know this already. Let's get the verification done and let's start putting ourselves out there so that entities will know. Just come to the Bahamas. They got plenty carbon credits that you could use in the meantime while you do your transition. Because we can't now, if you wait, you can't wait till around 2040 or 2050. Because most people ain't gonna need no more offsets. Because most people could be using methanol and hydrogen and they wouldn't be producing much carbon in the air, so they ain't gonna need no offsets. Let's get them while they need the offsets. Because come 2060 and 2070. We could be making them billions no more because people ain't gonna need the offsets no more. The world ain't gonna need the offsets no more because more carbon could be being emitted into the environment. So we got to be timely on our operation. Let's finalize what we're doing with our verification. Let's know exactly how much carbon credits we have available to the market. And of course, we got to make sure we start this, what you call, entity for carbon credits. Just like we have the authority for the airport, the authority for ships, the authority for hospitals, we will have an authority for our carbon credits. And that authority will be responsible for bringing all our money in, and at the end of the year, transferring that to our treasury. We don't want no foreign entity or no private company getting none of our carbon credit money. We want that to be in our kitty so that we can benefit from that. No other entity. We will hire them, but we ain't looking for them to have no shares. Not in our carbon credits. That's my view, ladies and gentlemen. If you got a different view, feel free to call in and let me know. But we got to get it right from day one. So we go back to our policy. And we were saying that the government has a policy in place. And this is the government. This ain't no Millis administration, Christie administration, Ingram administration, Pillen administration, or the current Davis administration. This is the government's policy. No matter which administration comes in or goes out, this policy is in place. The government policy says that in certain area of employment, you must be a Bahamian citizen. It didn't say you must be a Bahamian, you must be a resident in Bahamas, a Bahamian citizen. In those areas, first of all, landscaping. So if you are hiring somebody to cut your grass and landscape your yard, and that ain't a Bahamian, you realize you're breaking the law? Well, you're violating government policy. Let me don't call it law, because law is different from policy. You're violating the government policy. And there should be some penalty applied to these policies. Because, first of all, what happens is, if that person is doing the work, and they don't have the requisite work permit to do it, then they are violating the Immigration Act. Because based on that policy, the Immigration Department should not give out a work permit for landscaping to a non-Bahamian. Based on that policy, the Immigration Department should not give out a security license for a person to do security work that is a non-Bahamian. Based on that policy, there should be no non-Bahamians employed in wholesale and retail operations. And any kind of wholesale or retail operation in the Bahamas, you should have Bahamians only. And we know we don't. So the Immigration Department is responsible for ensuring that these people who are non-Bahamians working in these areas, because they couldn't give them any work permit based on the government policy, are no longer engaged in this type of thing. Domestic distribution of building supplies. How many non-Bahamians we have working in some of these building supplies entity? Plenty of us go to these entities to buy building supplies, and we know. You could tell almost immediately that some of these people are not Bahamian citizens. And they can't get a work permit to be in those areas. And the Immigration Department knows, because they're going to do to buy building supplies, eh? Or if they don't, they should be checking. Because that's the job of the Immigration Department. They shouldn't just sit in the office and wait for somebody to come to them. No, you need to go out there and check some of these establishments that you know the government policy say you can't give no permit for people to work in these areas, and find out where they permit. They can't have none for that area. They may have one for being a handyman or something like that. But it ain't going to be for none of these areas that the government, because the government cannot have a policy stating that you have to be able to work in this area, and immigration, who's part of the government, issuing work permit for these areas. That's impossible. We know that ain't happening. That can't happen. Because immigration is part of the government. So they can't violate their own policy, or the policy that all governments have in place. Construction companies. You can have people in your construction company who are not Bahamians doing construction work. Boy, you hardly find a Bahamian in the construction company these days, eh? Based on what I see. And I know some of you all see that. I can't be the only one saying these things. If you know anybody in a construction company that have only Bahamians working in that company, please give me a call. Because I know that can't be true. Not in this day and time. But what is the Immigration Department doing about it? My boy Marlon and I had a talk on the show last week, Thursday. And he asked me, say, Captain Bain, give me some areas that are reserved for Bahamians, where only Bahamians are working. Now, ain't nothing say only Bahamians work in these areas. What we are saying is only Bahamians should be working in these areas. So if the immigration department is falling down on enforcement, because these people ain't got a work permit, they cannot have work permit for these areas, Brother Marlon. Then you can't blame nobody. You can't say the policy still ain't there or the policy don't make no sense or the reality is you could make law, but if it ain't being enforced, it's only there. Excuse me. You know I can write you now because you can't answer me back. I'm not going by show because maybe you'll talk all night. For personal cosmetics and beauty establishments. Well, I don't know nothing much, but as a fellow, I don't go in much beauty establishments, right? But do they have only Bahamian workers in those establishments? I don't know. Boy, but if that's the case, you all call and let me know. You ladies who always get in these beauty places to get your little hair, that's the main thing, is get a fingernail polish and things like that. Toenail polish and all that. Y'all let me know if any y'all go in there, you always be dealing only with Bahamian nationals. And you may say, well, how do you know they ain't been? I don't even know. But boy, I know one thing. Some of them we could tell ain't Bahamians. You got a call on the line? Caller, you reach Maritime Matters.
Captain Bain.
Yes, sir. Good evening to you.
Why don't you call a spade a spade? Why are you beating around the bush rather than saying what is the case and being deliberate about what you say?
I don't go in cosmetic and beauty establishments with butter. You was going there.
This whole situation is such a. Sometimes I look at the government policy and I say it's a joke.
No. Well, the reality, Brother Brain, is the policy is there. So we can't say the policy ain't there. But the policy is not being enforced by the authorities who are responsible for ensuring that the policy is not being violated because they got law backing these policies,
So tell me something. Why aren't the policies being enforced?
Because of slackness, my brother. It's pure slackness.
Well, like I said in the past, and I'll say it again. It's not being enforced, and these things are not being addressed because of corruption at the highest levels and the lowest levels of this country, from top to bottom.
Yeah, but we need
public servants who serve in these capacities, who do this work on a daily basis, who are responsible for enforcement and the like. I don't know of any government who overtly says the public servant will disregard the policy. You don't do nothing or whatever. Yes, there may be internally, there may be some things, right? But every year when we issue these permits, we know that the probably 50,000 permits that, and I just using a figure.
It's probably more. I understand it's a heavy number.
Farm labor, but yet why are these permits being issued when we know that we don't have 50,000 farm laborers in the country?
Because, like you said, right, we have a level of corruption in our country, and we know. Right? I mean, but Brother Brian, you could call it what it is, but guess what? They come from me and you. Where you think these officers coming from? From our homes.
Yeah.
Where you think the corruption coming from? Let me ask you, I don't get in people's business, right? But do you hire Bahamians to cut your yard?
Yes. Let's be honest, right? We have in the past. But the Bahamians, we need to take ownership of our country, right? Yes, there will be opportunities for there are areas in this country where labor is required, and the reality is, if the Bahamians are not prepared to work and to protect what they have, like Marlon said, you don't, and the former Prime Minister, you don't deserve to have it, right? We simply have an issue in this country where lots of Bahamians believe that certain work is beneath them, And they would simply not do it. It doesn't matter what we say or how much we preach it from the mountaintop. They got some people who say, well, that's below me. And
but you got some Bahamians who have, I know some even like in Nassau village area that we knock over, that's the ghetto. These brothers have their little truck. They got their team, 1 or 2 workers, and they prepared to go. They can only find jobs because it has been overwhelmed by the non-Bahamians.
Yeah.
And we, the Bahamian people, are not hiring. We don't even want Bahamians cutting our grass.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are our own problem.
Yeah. You're absolutely correct, Cap. And we talk about all this wholesalers. You have companies. We ride around this town every day, and I really would like to throw this out there because I want my government and those who listen to have a close look at and examine what we're doing. We are creating a situation in this country where you look at every area over the hill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every corner, every little nook and cranny, we have these foreigners who are opening bars and bars next to schools, next to look at Robinson Road by C.H. Reeves.
Yeah, but the policy say wholesale and retail operations should be Bahamian citizens.
Because you go to Bay Street, where the old Pioneer Shipping, isn't that a big wholesale entity there?
Well, I don't know if a Bahamian owns it on paper.
But like I say,
right?
we are not serious about these things.
Well, we're not serious about hardly anything when it comes to enforcement in this country from government officials.
Anything. We're not. When this whole business of Bahamianization and this whole business of making reserving the best in this country for Bahamians. That's something that's a figment of our imagination now. It's something that's maybe almost unachievable because we have done so little to preserve our integrity in terms of what we do for fellow Bahamians and how we grow this country and how we're going to build this nation. Everybody's just so selfish. They're only into, okay, while I'm here, I'm going to get as much as I can get for me and my family. While I'm in this job, I'm just going to do as least as I could possibly do without losing the job so that I can earn a living or whatever the case may be. We have a lot of work to do behind the scenes to build this country. And all these things cannot happen, and these things cannot happen in a vacuum. We have to collectively look at all the areas in this country and try to, piece by piece, bring these things under control, or else we're going to continue from 100 years from now, we're going to be right here singing the same old spoiler song because we couldn't get nothing done and we couldn't come together as a country to get it done.
I couldn't put it any better than that, my brother, but I have hope. And I will keep applying pressure, and at some point we have an immigration minister who's prepared to put their foot down, get those immigration officers to get in there, and have a schedule where they check in this area today, check in that area, and they blitz in this country. And I have hope that happens.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I am going to continue to be your strongest cheerleader and to be a cheerleader for myself because I too feel passionate about this little country called the Bahamas. And like I said, we have a lot of work to do. The cost of living in this country is astronomical. We had a price control in place. I remember E.J. Bull was in charge, and now seemingly that has gone out of the window because you go to the food stores nowadays and you can barely find, $100 can't buy nothing.
You're right.
We have a lot of people who are hurting. We have a big country to build. We are making some strides, but we need everybody to pull together so we can collectively build this country.
Indeed, my brother. Well, thank you for that wonderful contribution as you always give.
Indeed.
And we'll keep in touch and well, let's close it. Only got about 10 minutes left. My goodness, why this time is run away? I need another half hour, Mr. Producer. Oh, he said you can't give me no half hour. Give me 2 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, As I was going down the list, we talk about the security officers that quite technically, based on the government policy, should be all Bahamian citizens. We talk about wholesale and retail operations, all Bahamian citizens. The distribution of building supplies, construction companies, cosmetic and beauty establishments. And we got something, commercial fishing in Bahamian waters. Now, you remember some time ago, a couple of years back, there was a situation where some Dominican fishermen were getting married to Bahamian women and wanting to go there to engage in commercial fishing. You know the tricky thing is with that? Yeah, they married a Bahamian woman, but they're still not Bahamian citizens right away. They may have status to be in the Bahamas and work, but not to violate government policy when they work, unless they are Bahamian citizens. So that alone should have said that they were not eligible to be on a commercial fishing boat. And it was a very contentious topic. I don't know where it is now. Maybe some of them did eventually become Bahamians. But if there aren't Bahamians and they're still going out on those commercial fishing vessels, they're in violation of this policy, and the Immigration Department could not have possibly given them a work permit to work on a commercial fishing boat. And certainly, their marriage license don't give them that authority. Not to violate government policy. So let's get it right, people. Then they talk about the auto and appliance operations. Is that auto mechanic? What auto? Oh, vehicles, cars, trucks, buses. I mean, we got some, and at least as far as I can suspect, because you never know, right? Some non-Bahamian car centers where they're selling Japanese vehicles. And we say, well, this is a non-Bahamian operation, but they got good cars. But these people should not be involved in selling vehicles, whether they be used or brand new, unless they are citizens of the Bahamas. Because yes, they may be residents, but this policy says citizens of the Bahamas. Bahamas citizens, or Bahamian citizens, eh? So immigration can't give them no permit to do that, because immigration can't violate government policy. So we need to look into that again, eh? This is what the government policy say. This ain't England now. I don't make the rules. This is what the government policy say, ladies and gentlemen. So let's look at some of these things and see how we as a Bahamian group, because these things are not put here by chance. No. It's put here many years ago and with good reason. Because we try to put, and the big one here, public transportation. You know this public transportation? That's jeepneys. Do we have all jeepneys operated by Bahamian citizens? Taxis. All taxi drivers are Bahamian citizens? Uber. Do we have Uber over here? Well, I don't know. But even if we have Uber, it should be Bahamian citizens only, because that's transportation, public transportation. SD vehicles, tour boats, mail boats. And mail boats full of non-Bahamians. Come on, man. This area is supposed to be reserved for Bahamian citizens. We don't have much Bahamian citizens to call us. Some of them I see on some of them mail boats, ferry boats, commercial vessels, etc. Yeah, we got to get with the program. Yeah, we got to make sure Bahamians have opportunity. Now, you got the Bahamians going to Maritime school now. When they finish, they can't even get a job. Why? Because all the non-Bahamians have the posts what they could possibly get. But because the owner of the vessel could pay the non-Bahamian less, and he could push the non-Bahamian around a little further, you don't even want him a Bahamian. But that owner is in violation of government policy, which in turn is in violation of the Immigration Act, because there's no way they could get work permit for these foreigners to do what they're doing. So we need to look at all this, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, they apply the law, get things fixed properly, and then we'll have more Bahamians capable and willing to work in these areas, because they're being blocked out by people who try to find cheap labor, by people who prefer to have the foreigner there because the foreigner can stay on the boat more, and the Bahamians just go home and they reach in Nassau. No, we got to get it right, make it happen, and let's do these things. So whenever you say the non-Bahamian engaging employment in any of those areas, dear listener, it should be borne in mind that such individual is in violation of our government policy. Bear in mind also that work permits should not be given in any of these work areas. Let's go over, and there's only some now. We got two more I even didn't talk about. We're talking about landscaping, security officers, wholesale and retail operations, building supplies, distribution of building supplies, construction companies, or construction in general, cosmetic and beauty establishments, commercial fishing, auto and appliance operations, public transportation. No, Bahamians only. I mean, when you see non-Bahamians, there ain't nothing you could do. I guess you could point out to immigration. I remember time I pointed out to immigration that we had a bunch of non-Bahamians in the harbor working. You know, the immigration officer told me, well, we ain't touching that. This was when I was with the Bureau. This back in 2002. 2002. Boy, we ain't touching that. I was too shocked. I was like, wow. Fella didn't even want to do their job. And I was a government official. So I wouldn't even dare talk to them now, because I don't know any more government officials, so I don't know. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the areas that we should reserve for Bahamians. Getting rid of the Shantytowns. Now let's dig a little deeper and start righting the wrongs that are being done on the job site. Boy, we got so much to talk about. And like our dear Prime Minister said at COP28, what do you say? No more time. Let me see if I could find the quote. That one said, so little pledged, given what is needed, so late in the day, given what is forecasted. So that's what we was talking about. And then, of course, as I near to the close of this show tonight, we know that we, the Bahamian people, we need to put our own foot down. These authorities come from us, you know. They come from our homes, from our bottom seat. We need to stand together sometimes and say enough is enough. When we talk about fighting for our carbon credits, we got to continue to fight for what our seagrass meadows and mangrove forests are worth for the cooling of this here planet. We got to push. We got to insist that we be accordingly compensated. It's not going to just fall into our laps, dear listener. As Sir Lyndon so succinctly stated decades ago, if Bahamians aren't prepared to stand up and fight and defend their own Bahamas, then you don't deserve to have it. Marlon, I took that from you, eh? That's how we're rolling tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, as our show comes to a close, let me just thank my sponsors for the night. We got 101 Pharmacy. Of course, they're located on East Street South, Charles Sanders Highway, and of course, in Freeport, Explorers Way downtown. We have Island Care Pharmacy. We're sponsored also by Bahamas Maritime Connection. That's us, BMC. And thirdly, we're sponsored by the joint sponsorship of GBI pilots and Bimini pilots. Those are sponsors for the show. If you want to sponsor us, feel free to hit us up at any time. You can call Love 97. You can call me at BMC, Bahamas Maritime Connection, and we can arrange it. We ain't that expensive. Come on, man. You want to do this? Let's do this. With that, I say good night to my good old Auntie May for always listening. I say thank you to my callers for keeping this show alive, for their great, gracious inputs and the topics that we cover. I say thank you to you, my dear listener, for always tuning in. Even those of you who don't always tune in, for tuning in sometimes. And as always, as we close, I say Maritime Matters. Out.